here's your host, Chelsea Edwards.
Welcome to another episode of Chattin' with Chelsea. I'm your daytime bestie, Chelsea Edwards. Today, we are taking you straight to Afrotech Houston. Now, this is the largest gathering of Black innovators who are shaping technology and culture. There, we caught up with some of the most brilliant and bold women in business. Our first interview is with Jotaka Eaddy. She is the founder and CEO of Full Circle Strategies. She has helped shape the Own Your Vote campaign, inclusive tech policy, and Goldman Sachs 1 Million Black Women Initiative, even the grassroots launch of the Color Purple film. Jotaka, thank you so much for sitting down with us to chat. All right, I gotta know, what is your definition of a boss woman?
Oh, boss. A boss. A boss is many things, I think, but most importantly, a boss is a woman who understands her worth. She is a woman who leads with passion. She is a woman who leads with conviction. She is a woman who goes through the world understanding that it's much bigger than just the individual. And I think ultimately a boss is someone who is striving to create real transformative impact in and around and every day waking up to be a better version of herself and creating a better version of this world.
How would you see that playing out as far as you've built so many teams? How did you exemplify being that boss woman in all the many projects that you've done?
You know, I haven't always necessarily embodied boss in the sense, I think we all grow. And I think for many women, you know, I've been very open about before I entered into tech in the Silicon Valley, I had imposter syndrome. I didn't see myself being successful. I didn't see a version of myself. Despite the fact that when I was transitioning into tech, I had helped to lead strategy on a landmark U.S. Supreme Court case. I had lobbied in the United Nations. I had changed state constitutions around voting laws, all of those things. But I did not think that I could be successful in tech. When I finally pushed myself and realized that I was in my own way, and I went into the industry, I not only understood that there was a place for me, but there was a need for me and people like me. And I think the most important realization of becoming a boss is getting out of your own way, getting out of your own head, and recognizing that you are enough, that you are more than enough. I think particularly as Black women in this industry, that we often compare ourselves to unrealistic expectations that aren't really built to benefit us. And the one time that we can erase all of that and to step into our true power, there's nothing that can stop us. And I think that is when you ultimately become a boss.
Wow. Yeah, because oftentimes we're looking at this standard, or this standard that we imagine, and we're just doing our best to do that. But we got to have some balance as well. How do you create balance, or are you just pushing forward?
Oh, balance is so important, and I talk about it often. I recently lost my mom.
Oh, wow.
And when you lose a parent, it forces you to stop in ways that you could never imagine. It forces you to rethink your entire life in ways that you could never imagine. And it has forced me to take a much needed break. The work is always going to be there. The problems that we fix every day, they're always going to be there. But the precious memories and times, they fleet. And so for me, that balance is spending time with my family, spending time with my friends. And when I need to just step away and reset, that it is absolutely okay.
How would you say your mother helped shape you into this woman we see today?
Oh, my mother, Lenora Eaddy, there's something she used to always say to me. She used to say, Jotaka, I want you to always reach for the moon. not the stars, the moon, because if you ever slip, you'll be exactly where you're supposed to be amongst the stars. And that's something that stuck with me as a child. Everywhere I went, my mother was always my number one supporter, my number one cheerleader, my mother and my father, both my parents. And my mother, though, led life with kindness. She was someone that was kind. And so when people often ask, like, what do you want your legacy to be? What do you want people to think about Jotaka Eaddy? And it's like, yes, I've accomplished a lot of things in life, but the thing that I really want most people to walk away with, I want people to say that I was a kind person, that I was a person that could see others, that I walked into rooms in a manner that left people feeling good about an experience with me. And that's what people have said about my mother. And it's my goal for me to live to be that standard. A woman of integrity, a woman of value, and a woman that is innately kind.
She definitely passed that on to you. I can feel it just sitting here next to you. Let's talk about Win with Black Women. You did a huge call with 44,000 Black women, Zoom call, to help support then VP Kamala Harris. Explain why you felt the need to put this together.
Well, in 2020, if you will recall, we were in the midst of a presidential election, and there had been this long work, for years and years, even before I was born. You get to think about women like Shirley Chisholm and Dr. Dorothy Hyde and C. Dolores Tucker and so many other women had been laying the foundation and really rallying for what we know was needed was for Black women to have our rightful place at the table, at the seat of the political conversation. And in 2020, we were very close, and there had been work by a number of Black women. A great sister, Melanie Campbell, had penned a letter that was saying that we needed to have the consideration of a Black woman for the highest ticket in the land, which was on the presidential ticket. And then Vice President Joe Biden made the comment that his vice president was going to be a woman. And Black women knew that there was an opportunity to push for a Black woman. And then what we saw was all of the conversation and the names of Black women being put into the media. We saw Vice President Kamala Harris, Congresswoman Val Demings, Mayor Karen Bass, Stacey Abrams, Ambassador Susan Rice, all of these women. But one by one, what was happening is that each one of them, there were recipients of racist, sexist attacks. Everyone was challenging their character. There were all of these ad hominem attacks against them. And I remember this was in the height of COVID. And I was at my parents' house in South Carolina, and I remember just getting so upset. And I was like, if they could talk to these women like this, if they could character assassinate these women, what would they do to me or to my sister cousin? Like, how would they treat the rest of us? And I remember picking up the phone and calling a mentor, Mignon Moore, and saying, what are we gonna do about this? What are you gonna do? Thinking like, what are the aunties gonna do? And she was like, well, what are y'all gonna do? And she was saying like, what is your generation gonna do? And I remember just sitting there for like 20 minutes. And afterwards I was like, yeah, I need to do something. So I wrote an email to about 65 friends and said, hey, this VP narrative, like I think I had like a couple of not so fond words that my mother probably would not use in the email, but it was an email and it was just like, hey, we need to do something. We need to come together. We need a strategy, maybe a hashtag, maybe an open letter. And I remember, and I think one of the most important aspects, I said, like, I write this with an open heart. If something is already happening, put me in. If not, let's get on a Zoom. And if anyone was left off of this email, just tell them, all is welcome. And so that night, 90 of us got on a call. And in, I think, 48 hours, we had 2,600 Black women had signed on to an open letter that we had penned that night on the call. And that was how Win with Black Women was born. We decided to use social media tools and organize around a hashtag. And for 4.5 years, Win with Black Women, we were meeting on most Sunday nights. So we would have anywhere from 300 up until 900 women. We've had everyone from Ms. Dionne Warwick to Ms. Oprah Winfrey to women that were running for governor and Congress that have been on these calls. We saw ourselves as Black women coming together when it was a need for us to come together. And it wasn't just around politics. Now, we started around politics, but it didn't just stop there, because we needed to also advocate for Black women in entertainment. When The Little Mermaid came out, and there was a backlash because The Little Mermaid was a beautiful Black young woman with locks and not red hair that, they wanted her to have. When Black women came together and Black women leaders bought out 100 theaters on opening weekend.
Now, you've talked about how just Zoom in and of itself has helped have an impact on social change in that case. And we've seen how social media has had an impact as well. Are there other ways that you expect technology to play a role in making change?
Oh, absolutely. Technology, I think, can be a force for good, but it also has to have guardrails. I think there's an absolute need for us to pay attention to who is developing the technology, the algorithms that are being built, the data, who controls that data. Those are all very important conversations. I think AI is going to be a real game changer. It already is a game changer. Most things that we touch now has some type of AI that is backing it, that's fusing it. We're using it more and more every day. And I think particularly as a community, I think particularly as Black people in this country, we have to understand AI. And I think that's why conversations and conferences like Afrotech is so absolutely imperative and so important. So when I see students that are lined up to go into innovation labs and to get this information, it brings my heart and my soul joy, because it gives me hope that this generation will not be locked out.
What a lesson in creating lasting change. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break, but we have more with these incredible women from Afrotech when we come back. Our next boss woman is proof that you can climb the ladder and look good doing it. Jodie Taylor is a corporate strategist and content creator who helps women build their careers with intention, not burnout. Jodie Taylor, thank you so much for chatting with us. I gotta know, what does being a boss woman mean to you?
Absolutely. When I think about what boss woman means, I think there's an immediate archetype that sort of lands for most women. It's like high-powered professional career, moving and shaking. But when I really unpack what boss woman means, it's a woman who has optionality, who chooses to rest when she wants to rest, who chooses to lean in when she wants to lean in. Not these very dated, traditional archetypes of boss woman. It's a woman who has the freedom to choose and who has maximum optionality to design her best life.
I love that. We love freedom.
Yeah.
Okay?
Amen.
You are great at helping people elevate their careers. How would you recommend people start moving with intention?
Yeah, in their career.
Yeah, in their career.
Absolutely. I think sometimes there's so many options and it can be so nebulous when you think about how do I move throughout my career with intention. So there's an exercise that I love to do. It's reverse engineering your career. So I go on LinkedIn and I find 5 women who I'm like, I love what they're doing. I love what they stand for. I love their career. I print them out on my desk and I begin to almost like reverse work all the experiences that they've had. So I begin to look at what schooling have they gone? Have they worked at a nonprofit? Have they worked at a startup? What have they done so I can really get tactical understanding and some guidance around how to move with intention. So that gives you like the tactical experience. The second thing that I do is really leaning into the power of community and network. Most women in senior leadership, 70% of them have a really robust network and lean on that network in order to advance. So the most successful women that I know don't apply for jobs. So they are getting approached because they have that robust network. So I encourage folks to get out there, to network, to talk, to come to events like Afrotech, AdColor, CultureCon, all of these amazing places and begin to really experience them and start building their network with intention and strategy. You might have 10 seconds with someone who will change your life. So it's incredibly important to be very almost like precision-like expertise when it comes to your pitch. And you don't have to overthink it and you don't have to overwork it. The first thing that I recommend is saying your full name. A lot of people say, my name is Jodie Taylor, but people will just say Jodie. We want people, number one, it gives you a level of legitimacy and authority to say your full name. And secondly, if people want to look you up on LinkedIn afterwards, there might be a million Jodie. So number one, make sure that you say your whole name. Number two, don't just talk about what you do for work, talk about your expertise and your passion. So my name is Jodie Taylor, and I'm really passionate about building communities of color and empowering women. Now that gives a ton of opportunity versus if I say, like, my name is Jodie Taylor and I work at XYZ company. Now I'm kind of pigeonholing myself into the conversation versus providing a swath of opportunity. And then lastly, think about the ask. Why are you here and why are you talking to this person? So if it's an investor, be very clear about what your ask is. If it's someone who can help you get a job, be very clear about that. And that is how I would structure my pitch.
Nice. Okay, fantastic tips. Anything else you have for people out there, especially if they want to elevate and advance like most of our audience does?
Absolutely. There's a few things I would recommend. Number one is, once again, social capital is so critically important. A lot of people can do the job. Not a lot of people have the resources and community. So making sure that once you have an unimpeachable skill set, because that's important, the next thing that you want to do is begin investing in networks, joining boards, philanthropic opportunities, coming to conferences and events. That is what is really going to set you apart. And the last piece of advice I would leave with people is run to the nose. Be very clear about failure, because failure is neutral. It is simply data and information. So I encourage folks, as you're at Afrotech, as you're at all of these big conferences, to ensure that you're leaning in and running into opportunities that scare you, because that is where all the most important and critical information comes.
Jodie was dropping some gems. Okay, girl. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we have another boss woman that you have got to meet. You know that? Welcome back. Makeda Bell is the Senior Communications Manager for Culture and Influence at Microsoft. She helps one of the largest companies in the world stay tapped into community. And she tells us that the key to your dream career is being your authentic self. Makeda Bell, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Yes.
Incredible career, but I have to ask you first,
okay,
what does a boss woman mean to you?
Oh man, I think a boss woman to me, I've been saying this all day at this event, is really having a foundation and a guarantee of self. There's nothing guaranteed in the world but yourself. You have full control over it. You have the autonomy to shape it, to form it, to make it whatever it needs to be. And that is what makes you a boss, where you can shape that self and guarantee that it's gonna land and it's gonna be right because you have full control of it.
Wow, I absolutely love that. I'm loving the power, the control, the freedom, all of that.
Absolutely.
Yes. Now let's talk about your journey to becoming Senior Communications Manager over at Microsoft.
Yes.
What would you say is the biggest hurdle that you overcame to get to where you are now?
Yeah, I think the hurdle is really, again, aligning yourself and understanding that when you walk into a room, you're supposed to be in that room, right? And so when you walk in there, you really can guide yourself of what rules do I want to create? How can I push the culture forward? How can I take the things that are objectives and that need to be maintained and that need to work, but also add in me? You're in that room for a reason. You already have the value. And so I really overcame that hurdle, right? Of kind of that like scariness that you have, or, you know, that insecurity, and being so rooted in myself and pushing myself to understand that I'm supposed to be here. And I think that happens a lot with culture, right?
Yes.
We're constantly pushing the culture forward. Why wouldn't we do that in our careers as well?
Yeah. Speaking of culture, why is it important for large companies to get a tap into culture, especially when it comes to their marketing?
Yeah, because culture is everything.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it literally is. And I think the word culture itself can be obviously overused, and a lot of people like to gravitate to it. But I think what's important for brands is not just about tapping into the culture, it's sustaining it, right? Being intentional. If you look at the event today, every single person, from the person who designed this to our co-host, is a part of the Black and African American community. And that is the real thing when it comes to culture and tapping in, is how can you bring people along for the journey, and then also sustaining it. It's not just for a moment, it's not just for Afrotech. It's truly about immersing yourself in it 365, and you can
add a little extra day in there too if you want to.
Yeah, I'm not mad
Who
at
said
that.
you can't do that?
I mean,
Okay.
nobody.
Exactly.
Tell me what it took to bring this event together and all these wonderful people in this.
Yeah, so the House of Black Excellence, this is our second year doing this with Microsoft, which I'm really excited about. You know, it's really being able to show up and say, how can we do something different? How can we make sure that there's intentionality? And that's how this came together. We've been working with Jodie Taylor for a little bit, and she's phenomenal. She truly is the epitome of someone who understands how to be authentic, how to move throughout the corporate culture in itself. And I think that's what we wanted. We wanted for Black women and Black folks to be able to come together and really feel like there's a nurturing environment that happens as you go into a huge startup Afrotech. So we're really intentional. And if you see, there's a lot of floral in the space. It's a lot about blooming. We have the soil, we have the foundation. We're really helping each other grow.
Yes. How is being authentic and being your true self, how has that played a role in becoming who you are?
Yeah, I think authenticity is something that for me is a non-negotiable, right? Being myself is what allows me to create. It allows me to be a part of culture in my own story. And I think that's something that I really appreciate about Microsoft too. Authenticity. When you see an event like this, you wouldn't naturally expect that to come from a brand and of course certain times that we're in, but I think when you stand firm in who you are and bring that every single day, things like this are bound to happen. And so for me, it's a non-negotiable to be able to walk in a room and, you know, flip that hair around,
Hey.
where that fits, okay? That's the whole point, because when people see that, they see themselves. It allows them the opportunity to say, I am House of Black Excellence, okay? I am that person, and that comes from being authentic, and it starts with us and nurturing that to others.
Oh, I love hearing from these ladies. Such great advice. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back after this. Thank you for joining us for this episode from Afrotech. Thank you to all the incredible ladies who chatted with us. You guys keep up with us on social at Chelsea Show Fox. Wardrobe provided by Trezor Cachet Boutique. And we'll see you on the next Chatting with Chelsea.